Chapter 25 of The Rat Race by J. Franklin. The grill in the Governor Baldwin was not crowded, and we had no trouble getting a pleasant table in the corner, while four colored men blew into metal objects, hit things, and delivered themselves with various rhythmic noises. From time to time they paused in order to allow the perspiring couples who jiggled and writhed on the dance floor time to cool off. While waiting for Emily Post to appear, Arthurjean was very subordinate, calling me Mr. Tompkins, and acting quite as the boss's secretary should act when out for dinner with the boss. Mary Vale was in high spirits and insisted on having the deputy who had helped serve the writ join us for a drink. But the deputy was a pallid young man with, he told us, a heart murmur that kept him out of the armed forces, and he never touched anything strong. So we shed him ahead of the time when the nurse from the sanctuary showed up in a slick dancing dress that seemed painted on her torso, and a makeup that was a tribute to the skill of the advertisers of cosmetics. Vail took one look at her and his face lit up like Broadway. "Spring is in the air," he remarked to the world at large. "Will you dance, Miss Post?" She flashed a smile that promised some and hinted at more, and said, "You bet." I watched them as they took the dance floor, and the music took them. I turned back to my secretary. "What gives, Angel?" I asked. She beamed at me. "Winnie," she observed, "you're it. Perhaps the most famous man in Wall Street, in a quiet way. You caught the market just right. Mr. Wasson and Mr. Cohn pulled out just right before the big operators decided they must be patriotic and support quotations before you made too much money. We've cleaned up nearly $3 million. And Mr. Cohn's so happy about it, he's got him a brand new girlfriend." "How about Wasson?" I asked. "Has success gone to his head?" "Oh, he's just the same as ever. He didn't bat an eyelash, except to say that you were one wise so-and-so to figure the break." "And how about yourself, Arthurjean?" She grinned at me. "I guess a girl can tell when she's washed up with a swell guy. But you're not Winnie. Not the Winnie I knew. And there aren't going to be any fun and games from now on, I guess." She took a hearty pull at her highball. "So we're friends," she announced. "You've got a swell wife waiting for you. If you ever need me, I'll be around. If you don't, that's okay too. But God, honey child, we did have us some fun, Winnie and I. He had a theory that monogamy was a kind of hardwood that grows in the tropics, and that made him kind of nice to play with. What gives with you?" I gave her a fill-in on the Washington trip and the events that had brought me to the sanctuary, and she listened with a growing smile. "Why," she began, but the music stopped and Vail and Miss Post returned to the table. "Winnie," Vail announced, "spring hath come to Hartford, Connecticut, and I've decided to take a room at this hotel. This is a mighty fine little city, isn't it? Clean, vital, New England honesty and all that, not to mention insurance. And—" his eyes strayed fondly in the direction of the nurse, who sat with eyes demurely downcast. "Okay," I told him. "This is the official opening of spring. Just give me those papers I wanted to sign. The money for Dr. Rutherford, I mean." He stared at me. "You don't mean to say you were serious about that?" he exclaimed. "I thought it was a gag to tip me off that you were being railroaded to the asylum. Hell, I'll have the stuff drawn up and you can sign it on Monday. There's nothing doing in town over the weekend, and Rutherford can wait. If you like, I'll try to beat him down. For my money, he'll settle for $5,000 and to hell with his family honor." I shook my head. "No dice, Mary. It's 15,000, a gentleman's agreement." "Hell, no gentleman has any business making agreements. That's what lawyers are for." The music started up with a rather miscegenated attempt to marry Mendelssohn's Spring Song to Pistol Packing Mama. He grabbed Emily Post by the arm. "Come on," he urged. "Gotta dance." I'll show you some steps that aren't in the book of etiquette. Why, Mr. Vail, she agreed, and they were off again. I resumed my talk with Arthur Jean. You'd better stay here, too, I told her. It's getting late, and they lock up the trains on the New Haven Road along with the cows. She looked the question at me. Nope, I studied sturdily. I'm going to drive back and see whether spring has come to Bedford Hills. Even commuters have children now and then, I added. They used to blame it on sunspots or Roosevelt, but now I guess they'll have nobody to blame but themselves. In return for a 5-spot, the hotel doorman told me how to find the nearest black market gas station, so I tanked up the Packard and worked myself across country till I hit the Parkway. The night was clear and cool, but there was a hint of blossoms in the air. Vail was right. Spring had come to the commuters, and I thought sardonically of what could be expected at every country club the next night, Saturday. I missed the turnoff for Bedford Hills and wasted a couple of hours wandering amiss through the maze of Westchester roads, but finally I found myself on a familiar road and soon eased the Packard to a slow stop on the crackling gravel of the entrance of Pook's Hill. I left my bags in the car and walked quietly along the grass until I let myself in at the front door. A muffled woof from the kitchen showed that Ponto had drowsily recognized my tread as I tiptoed up the stairs and into my bedroom. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and the frogs were still jingling in the marshy meadows as I stood by the window and tasted the night air. Then I undressed rapidly and put on a dressing gown and slippers. I turned off the lights and tiptoed across the hall to my wife's bedroom. Her door was closed, but when I turned the handle, it proved not to be locked or bolted. I closed it softly behind me and approached the edge of the bed. Germaine was sleeping quietly, the faint glow of the starlight outlining her dark hair against the white pillow. Suddenly she started. "What? Who's that?" she cried. I leaned over and brushed her hair with my lips. "It's me," I told her truthfully. "Everything's all right." "Hurry," she murmured. "You'll catch cold." A moment later she remarked conversationally, "Heavens, you are cold." Then she burrowed herself against me and wordlessly raised her lips to mine. When I opened my eyes in the morning, the bed felt strangely deserted. I reached over and found that I was alone. "Jimmy!" I called. "Jimmy!" She appeared at the bathroom door. "Hello," she remarked. "Where did you come from? And what are you doing here? Don't you know that all respectable married couples sleep in separate rooms, according to House and Garden?" "I'm not respectable," I told her. "Please notify the editor." "You certainly are not," she observed. "You nearly gave me heart failure sneaking into my room like that, when you were supposed to be in Hartford. It would have served you right if I'd called for the police." "I'm just as good as the average policeman," I suggested. "Come over here and I'll show you how we Tompkinses—" But she evaded me. "No, sir. We must set a good example to the servants. It's way past breakfast time, and I don't want Myrtle to guess that we're absolutely shameless." Breakfast was waiting for us when we came downstairs, and we gave a reasonably good impersonation of an elderly married couple at the breakfast table. I read the financial section of the Times, and Germaine again busied herself with the social page of the Herald Tribune, now and then reading brief items about marriages and divorces, while I grunted noncommittally about the state of the market. As a matter of fact, we both believed we had succeeded admirably, when our attention was attracted by a meaning kind of cough. It was Mary Myrtle. "What is it, Myrtle?" Germaine asked with a radiant smile. "It's not my business to say so," the maid stammered, "but I wanted to know whether you would really keep me on. I like it here, and I'm so happy you're happy, Mrs. Tompkins." "Of course you're going to stay with us, Myrtle, but however did you guess?" "You can see it in your face, Mrs. Tompkins," she said. "And Mr. Tompkins, he was looking at the sporting page and talking about U.S. Steel and AT&T and Oh, it's nice. And she fled from the room. Germaine looked at me like the angel at the gates of Eden. There, she exclaimed. That's what happens when I trust you. You can't even find the right page in the paper to fake from. Next time, I'm going to marry a man who doesn't look so damn happy it's a giveaway. It's spring, I explained stupidly. You know, Winnie, my wife said suddenly, speaking of spring, I've been thinking about Ponto. You've had him for 5 years now, and I think he's getting a little queer. Don't you think it would be a good idea to send him to the kennels and have him bred? Perhaps that's all that's been wrong with him. Spoken like a woman, Jimmy, I said, but I agree that it wouldn't do any harm. I'll phone Dalrymple after breakfast and have him send over for Ponto's Sacre du Printemps. He's got championship blood, and unlike holy matrimony, there's money in it. She shrugged her shoulders unspeakably. Poor Winnie, she mocked. You'd be worth millions if you'd been paid like Ponto. It mightn't be a bad idea at that, I remarked, if you realize the years of apprenticeship and training, the high degree of professional skill required. Come here then, she ordered. I'll pay you. She did. You won't forget about Ponto, she added, breathless after her kiss. The poor darling oughtn't to be celibate in this household. I wouldn't want it to happen to a dog. End of chapter 25.